Yeah, we just looked back before this meeting at the brief.
Yeah.
The RFP, the request for proposal, came in January of last year. So it's wild to think that it's been
almost 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, but there are, select proposals or requests for proposal or project briefs that come in that just grab everybody's attention. And this was one right away. I mean, obviously coming from a major American museum, and then the brief itself articulating a desire for kind of a big change and to align the identity of the museum now with this shifting strategy to be more inclusive, more local, more culturally relevant, a little less precious, a little more kind of engaging in terms of new audiences and inviting more people in. Like that really rose to the top of everyone's radar pretty quickly, and there was no way we were not going to participate in at least submitting a proposal.
Yeah, and I'd been to the city kind of off and on over the years. I have a friend that actually lives really close to the museum, so I'd been there a lot of times and was really familiar with the space and the collection and the amazing holdings they have. So yeah, it was like a kind of a perfect meeting of two worlds.
We had worked with, we had never done a full museum identity before. We had worked with Crystal Bridges Museum a bit, MoMA a couple times, on campaign projects and smaller brand projects. I'd never done kind of a soup to nuts full identity as well. So for us, that was a huge draw. Yeah, in terms of the core strategy, they had the institution was shifting its focus to toward more learning and engagement, toward more of a kind of a local focus. And there were a couple shorthands, I think, probably up on the wall here, even that we kind of kept in mind. I don't know if you guys know the building, but it's at the top of, what is it, like 72, I should know this, 72 steps or something.
Yeah.
It is a sort of beautiful classical building on the hill and sort of visible from most places in downtown Philadelphia. And because of that, I think a lot of people come up those steps. They come up because Rocky ran up the steps, and it's really iconic.
It's actually the building of the town.
It is. And that's the thing. People come up the steps and then they don't come inside. So most everyone who comes to Philly would have been there, but maybe not actually gone through the doors. And part of the brief was for the museum to come down those steps and engage with communities, creative community, and just invite more people in and up, but also to kind of throw the doors open and even like becoming the living room of Philadelphia. So more people can come more often and just have it be more casual. That was a big part of the brief. And that strategic initiative to kind of pivot the museum toward activities and engagements locally that delivered on that purview. And then the thought was, okay, is our identity actually reflecting that? And is there a chance to kind of reimagine how we show up to our, patrons and maybe people who have either never come in or only come in? I think most people in the Philly Delco area come once as a grade school visit and may never come back, or may only come back every few years.
Yeah.
So that invitation was a key piece.
Yeah. It's one of the things we talked about really early on in our first meeting with them when we were just showing them our proposal and walking them through it and having discussions. This Greek temple on a hill in this working class town. But they're really, really interested in trying to use design to inject some of that kind of flavor into it. So when we were designing the typography, when we were designing the logo, we were looking at things like union seals. We were looking at industrial kind of flavored typefaces from America specifically around the period that the building was built. So 20s through 40s roughly is what we were looking at. And that's what gave us our kind of aha moment with the typography. There was a designer who had studied, the institution used to be both a school and a museum, and he had studied there for 3 years, this man named Saul Hess. And in our research with the type designer, Ryan Bugden, he came across this type specimen for a face that he'd named after himself, which if you're a typographer, that means you're very proud of that face. A face that he had drawn later when he was working in Philadelphia at Lanston Monotype. And it had this tension built into it. We were searching for cues from the kind of classical, typography that's chiseled and painted onto the building and around the campus. That was kind of one pool that we were looking at. And we had this other pool of this kind of working class, industrial flavored typefaces. And this thing that he drew happened to kind of blend those two things together. It had these, this kind of underpinning that was very kind of working class in its structure, almost like its underpinning.
It almost felt forged.
Yeah. We talked about it feeling like it could have been cut with like a tool and die. And it also had these classical serifs. So that was our kind of jumping off point that we were building on top of.